Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and this is games leaving my collection for September. September is actually going to be a shorter month than usual as far as games leaving my collection, although that might be biased by the fact that I did like a 30-game purge or something like that last week. You can check that out. An impromptu purge for my collection, which does result in fewer things to pick off the shelves when it comes time for this video. I'm curious what's going to happen next month because I don't know. I mean, there's always something. There's always something to pull off. But in any case, let's go ahead and dive into this. As usual, disclaimer and all that stuff that I play a lot of games. I get a lot of games. I go through a lot of games. When I get rid of games, do not take it to mean that they aren't fun games. Many of the games here... Some of the games here are definitely some pretty fun games, but either way, it's just the nature of the fact that there's only so many games you can practically play a year, and while this is not purely because I'm a content creator, I always went through a lot of games. It's something I always did. At the end of the day, there's going to be different kinds of people. There's going to be people that get a bunch of games, hold on to them, play them a ton of times, and there's going to be people who like trying all the things out there, and I'm definitely in the latter camp, so take it all with a grain of salt. As usual, though, I will cover why I'm getting rid of a game, what went into the decision, why I'm keeping other games, and all that kind of thing, and there's always a link down below to a video I show with what I do with them when I get rid of games in terms of how you can sell or trade them. Just a video going through the process in case you're trying to figure out how to get rid of your own things. Short 15-minute video, walks me start to finish what I do to get rid of a game. In any case, let's go ahead and dive into it, starting off with the only one on this list that I have not played. And I'm usually a little bit more cautious when I get rid of games I haven't played, but in this case there's a very specific reason, and that is Space Alert. Space Alert, which I've had in my collection on and off. This is actually the second time I've had it. I got rid of it once before because it wasn't getting played, and I got it back because, like, it's Space Alert. Come on, I mean, it's a classic. It's a Vlaada Chvátil. I love his designs, the humor, the production quality of CGE. Like, there's no reason on earth I should not have this game, except there's a great reason on earth as far as why I should not have this game, and it's the fact that Space Alert is a real-time cooperative game, kind of in the vein of Magic Maze, which I find delightful. That's my... I need to go ahead and mute that. Give me 1 second over here. But Space Alert, in general, Space Alert is a game that is a real-time game, a real-time cooperative game in the same vein as Magic Maze. And I love Magic Maze. The difference is, Magic Maze I can play at 2 players very effectively, and Space Alert really thrives at 4 and 5. This game is rated best at 4 and 5, with a huge drop-off once you go down to 3 players. The problem with that is the fact that that's not in and of itself a problem on its own. Fine, I'll play it with 4 players. I can find the time to do so. The real problem is that, like Magic Maze, this game builds off itself. It gives you rules and then rules and rules, and it builds off and having the same group of people playing the game, and the chances of me committing 4 people to playing this game for multiple plays, I realize is not realistic. When we have 4 people together, we're playing games like Blood Rage and Root and Inish and Terraforming Mars is best of 3, so not that one. But like, we have a host of games, Coimbra, Lorenzo Magnifico. There's so many games that we adore, Food Chain Magnet, that we don't play enough when we have 4 players. And this game, well, I can see it getting played at 4 players. I do not see it being given repeated plays at 4 players. The types of games we want to table when we have 4, both old and new alike, there's just too many. And unfortunately, because of that, I think Space Alert has to fall in the category of a game I want to play, a game I actually absolutely find compelling, but a game that, practically speaking, just isn't going to happen, sadly. I really do want to play this game. But that's Space Alert. Space Alert is unfortunately leaving because I just realized it's not going to happen. Like games like Captain Sonar. Some games I want to play, just not going to happen. From there, we move into a game that I'm kind of done with. Done with in a good way. Like, I completed it. We have Micro Macro Full House. I went through the original Micro Macro way back when I first got it. Then I got Full House, dove into that briefly so I can cover it, review it, and then didn't really play through it that much more. But I've started diving into it more, getting the plays done, checking off the cases, and now I'm done with it. That's what happens with these games. When you eventually get done playing them, you're done playing them. And Micro Macro Full House, I've gone through all the cases. It continues the lovely trend of the Micro Macro series of giving you a Where's Waldo-like experience combined with an escape room style vibe as you try to deduce what happened by tracing a pathway through the city and following a story, building a story. It's both storytelling and Where's Waldo. Not really that much escape room. I mean, you're basically just looking for things. It's Where's Waldo plus a story combined. I really enjoy the process of the Micro Macro series of games. This one is no exception, but once you're done, it's time to go. From there, we go into some easy ones. 2 easier ones, not because they're bad games, but because they're good games, and good games aren't compelling enough nowadays. We have Lost Relics from Games Workshop, I assume. Yeah, Warhammer, it says, gotta be Games Workshop. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's a Game Workshop title. We have Lost Relics, which hopefully I'm not breaking any miniatures on this one. This is Warhammer Quest Lost Relics, a game that I really enjoyed with a strong caveat. A single caveat, but a caveat that is, well, fairly damning. The caveat is that this game is broken. Broken, like broken. And I don't say that lightly. I really don't. I'm still questioning, like I said this in my review when I cover this game, and I welcome any feedback telling me I'm wrong. But like, I've played through this game, and I continue every single, not, I don't know if I want to say every scenario I've played has been able to be rushed through. You can go through the game, you can learn the game. I like the system, I like the core mechanics I play, I enjoy what the game is doing. It's a dungeon crawler, it's a cooperative dungeon crawler. You always control 4 characters, you go through the dungeon, you do your thing. The problem is, every single scenario, if you're willing to just rush to the end game, you will win. Not like you can win, you will win. If you rush to the end game, you will win. Ta-da, the game's over, you've won, congratulations. Or you can actually play it properly by not playing it optimally and not rushing the end game and going through it procedurally. I could be wrong, but like, I've read the rules 3 times because when I don't like using the word broken. The last thing you want to do as a board game reviewer, putting your videos on the internet, the last thing you want to do is say something's broken and then have someone come out and be like, actually, you missed that rule on page 2 that says you can't do that thing you want to do. It's one thing to say you don't like the game, it's another thing to say a game is straight up broken and be wrong about it. So I read the rules multiple times to try to double check and triple check and quadruple check. Am I missing something? I don't think I am. I think the game is broken. I like the system, but between the bad artwork, and I did not like the artwork, the miniatures were amazing, great quality Games Workshop miniatures, and then garbage artwork, so like kind of a mixed bag on the production quality. But past that, it's just the brokenness combined with the bad artwork make this a game that I like the core system, but the game itself can go. That's where we are with this one. Speaking of which, we have, not really speaking of which, but from the same publisher, we have Blitz Bowl. Blitz Bowl Ultimate. A fun game that was fun, but not like amazing fun. Just fun. Fun. I enjoyed Blitz Bowl Ultimate. It's a skirmish game combined with a sports-themed game, which you toss the football back and forth, then you take your actions, try to figure out how you're going to stand up and charge into your opponent, roll some dice, knock some people over, and try to win the game by the cards and the touchdowns and all the things you're going for. I like it. It's fun. It's good. But like, not like, oh my gosh, must stay in my collection fun and good. Just like, hey, that was a fun time. I'm glad I got to experience this. And it made me, I would argue, more interested in other sports-themed games so that I can eventually try those down the road. But for this one, for right now, for in the moment, I'm good on it. I don't need this one. We can pass on this one for right now. But again, good game. Just not the best ever. From there, we move into another one that was a review that was slightly disappointing. This is 3,000 Scoundrels. I really wanted to like this game, and I thought it was so compelling an idea. 3,000 Scoundrels is a newer game from, I guess, Unexpected Games and Corey Knizia, and it's a game which you're going to have these sleeves. So you have a sleeve which has the stats on it, and you have the card that has the stats on it, and you mix the two together, and you have your own custom Scoundrel, which is why the game's called 3,000 Scoundrels, because I don't know the card count, but let's just make it up. Let's say we had, I don't know, 70 cards times 30 cards. Is that right? Am I doing this wrong? It sounds wrong. 70 cards times 50 cards. I don't know the math of that. 70 cards times 50 cards, let's say, okay? So if you had 70 cards times 50 cards, the math on that is 70 times 50, which is 7 times 5, which is 35, plus 2 zeros, that's what, 3,500, right? That sounds right? So if you had somewhere in that range, and I don't know the exact card count they have, that means you might have 3,500 combinations of possible cards. That's what they have. They have a bunch of sleeves, a bunch of cards, you mix them together, and you have 3,000 unique Scoundrels. Cool concept. The problem is the game around it. First of all, I found the whole Scoundrel concept to be a lot more work and maintenance compared to the payoff it gave. I probably would have been comfortable having 300 cards in the game and just call it a day. Just give me 300 cards, don't give me the unique aspect of 3,000 Scoundrels. The amount of every single time before you put a new card out, you go ahead and create the card, and then when the game's over, you have to uncreate the cards, and it was a lot more work and maintenance relative to the payoff of the experience I got, but then more importantly, I found the overall game around it to be okay. Not amazing, not bad, it wasn't bad either, it just was okay. I didn't really love the bluffing mechanic and the way it integrated into the game. I thought it was a totally fine experience that I was totally happy with, but I also don't need to play again. It's okay, it's 3,000 Scoundrels, it's not a bad game, but also not for me. From there we move into where I start, no, let's do one more easy one before we start getting into the harder decisions we have. The easy one is the fact that I'm getting rid of Air, Land, and Sea, Spies, Lies, and Supplies. I love this game. I do. But I'm getting rid of this because I have Air, Land, and Sea, Critters at War, Flies, Lies, and Supplies. That's like Spies, Lies, and Supplies. Flies, Lies. Flies and Lies. It's Flies instead of Spies. I see what they did there. Could have just been Spies, but whatever. Either way, we have Critters at War, and I'm keeping the Critters at War version because I find this so much more delightfully cuter than this version. So there's nothing wrong with this version. This version is great. It is great. It really is great. I'm just going to get rid of this because I have this, and this is better than this, so let's keep this instead of this. That's where we are with this one. We're keeping this instead of this because this is better. This is better and cuter than this. That's all. This is gone. This stays in my collection. Ta-da! There we go. But really, I mean, Air, Land, and Sea as a series I thoroughly enjoy. This is me just finding this is an excuse to be able to add something to the pile, anything to the pile, because dear Lord, it's going to get harder and harder every single month to get rid of things. But Air, Land, and Sea, amazing game, fantastic game. I just prefer the Critters at War version. And then from there, we start making hard choices around different games, hard choices around different titles. The first of which is one that I wonder if I'm going to get back. I wonder. Let's go ahead with Ethnos over here. Ethnos is one that I wonder if I'll get back. I really do. Like, speaking of games that have bad artwork that should or shouldn't stick around, this is a game with bad artwork and terrible production quality. If they ever reprint this in some sort of like cool, deluxe, over-the-top version, you can bet I'll be there, because this game I like enough that that would push me over the edge. Like, there's always that fine line with games, and sometimes production quality can be the final blow. But in this case, Ethnos is a game of area control from Come On, Spaghetti Western Games, a game with, I find, horrible artwork, and past that, the game itself is actually pretty fun, though. It's a game which you're going to be taking cards and then trying to use their abilities of the various tribes you have in play, and using the abilities in whatever way you can to try to get your markers on the board. It works very well, but like it's somehow a game that doesn't inspire me. I never think of it as the game I must play, but then when I do play it, I enjoy myself. So, like, yeah, it falls in a weird category. It plays in around an hour or so, and it gives you a good experience for a decently high player counts as well. This is the kind of game that lines up with Seven Wonders as well, for when I have, like, 5 or 6 people at a table, and I want a game that will accommodate those people well, and Ethnos does a good job with it. I really do enjoy Ethnos, and I question whether I'm making the wrong decision, but that's a question we can deal with for another day. For right now, Ethnos hasn't been played in, I want to say, over 8 months, but more importantly, as usual, it's less about how long it's been since the game has been played, and it's more about whether I look at it longingly on the shelf and question, when am I going to play that game again? And with Ethnos, I never really do. It hits the right spot at the right time. There are opportunities where I pull it up because I want to play it, but it's never a game I look at as the one I want to play. It's a game that does get tabled, and I'm like, that was fun, I enjoyed it, it's good, I'm happy I own Ethnos. But I don't own Ethnos anymore, at least not as of the end of this video. Next up, we have another one that I love in theory, but does not get played. We have Isle of Skye from Chieftain to King. A lot of fun. This game is really fun. It's a good game. I recommend it. I do. This is where we start moving into that territory of games that it's just a question of good games versus great games. I mean, honestly, even with Ethnos, you're in that category already. I like Isle of Skye. I do. I have all the expansions in here. I have an upgraded insert. I have a whole bunch of fun things going on in this game. It's such a nice game. Oh, I forgot to mention, by the way, speaking of which, I forgot to mention this is a Games Leaving the Collection video, which means some of these games are going to be given away over on Patreon. If you are a patron of mine, yes, I have a Patreon, link down below, then I give away some of the games from the Games Leaving the Collection video. I give away some games every single month, 1 or 2 to lower tiers, and then a few more to the higher tiers on Patreon, so you can get games every single month for free, upgraded games. None of these are ineligible. They're all eligible for being given away. Anyways, but from there, we're talking about Isle of Skye from Chieftain to King. I like it a lot. It's a good system. Isle of Skye is a system. It's basically Carcassonne with a degree of bidding thrown on top of it, but it's a system in which you are basically, you're setting the price for some tiles, and then trying to bid those tiles, and then add them to your grid based on the scoring criteria at play, and then the expansions add in some fun things as well. I like the game. Like, this is the kind of game where, you know, we're going to come back to Isle of Skye. We're going to come back to it. Like, I'm having second thoughts even just talking about it. That's, like, I really like the game. Let's go back to the game that I don't have second thoughts on, because I haven't played this game in way too long. That's going to be a trifecta of 3 games, and that is the Century series of games. The Century series of games. Golem Edition. We have Century Golem Edition, Eastern Mountains, Endless World, and just general Century. This is a series, a trifecta of 3 games that gives you, well, a few different things. I actually haven't played Endless World. I've played Eastern Mountains, and I've played the regular Golem Edition. The Century series of games gives you a very simple 1-page sheet of how to play the game, and then it gives you 3 different games, each of with their own different rules, and they can all be combined as well to give you their own combined game. The core game from the original set is basically play cards to convert gems into better gems and then turn those in for scoring. I like the system. It's compelling, it's simple, it's engaging, it gives you Splendor with an extra degree of strategy layered on top of it, and I like Splendor, and I like the extra degree of strategy layered on top of it, but I find, practically speaking, it doesn't really get played either. It's not a game, it's a game that falls a little bit too on the light side for who I typically pull games out. It is gateway friendly, but I have a few too many gateway friendly games in my collection as it is, and I find that Century isn't my go-to pick. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I love the Golem Edition of the series, absolutely amazing. And then I find Eastern Mountains to be only okay. It's pick up and deliver, and I never loved pick up and deliver, and I haven't actually played Endless World at all, so I can't comment on that one. I like the series of games, but ultimately it does not get tabled. It sits there on the shelf, taking up shelf space, taking up mental mind space of games I'm not playing. And I do like it, and I do recommend it. The Century is one of the better gateway games I can recommend. The other 2 I think are okay. I don't think, well, again, I haven't played one of them, I shouldn't say that. Eastern Mountains, I think, is okay. I think it's good, but does not have the same charm or appeal as the Golem Edition does. overall, I think these are good games, very solid games in very many ways. Again, this falls in the territory of me getting rid of games because I just always have games rotating in and out, and I'm trying to keep the best ones there. I'd rather pull out a game like Calico or Cascadia or I don't even know what else I have. Istanbul. There's so many other games I'd rather pull out for something gateway friendly. 5 Tribes that scratch the itch for me a little better. This is a great series of games, but one that I think can leave for now. And going back to Isle of Skye, which I'm having second thoughts on. Do I get rid of Isle of Skye or not? I think I do. I think I do. I like the system. I really do. And the scoring variability is so rewarding. I don't know what it is about Isle of Skye. I don't know what it is. I think Isle of Skye is a game I just don't pull out to play quite as much as I'm in a rush to pull out other games. Like, it's really good. It really is a good game. I don't know why. Like, both things are true. The idea of getting rid of it makes me sad. The idea of getting rid of Isle of Skye makes me question whether I should or shouldn't. But again, there's other games I think I'd rather play over it. Just looking at my shelf for other games in a comparable weight class, I'd rather play Aquatica. I'd rather play Raja of the Ganges. I'd rather play Everdell. I'd rather play 5 Tribes. 5 Tribes is probably like same weight class as this one more. I think I'm going to get rid of it. I think there are other games that I'd rather pull out instead of Isle of Skye, that as much as I do like Isle of Skye and do recommend Isle of Skye, I think I'm going to stick with my gut instinct and say that it's time for it to leave. There's a lot of good games out there. There's a lot of good games, and you don't have to pick everything up. I like going through games. I like trying games. I like having games. Some of them stick in my collection for a few weeks, in the case of something like 3,000 Scoundrels. Some of them sit in my collection for years, like Century Golem Edition, or who knows what. Or Ethnos has been years. Isle of Skye has been years. Some games are here to stay for a very, very long time. There are games that have been in my collection for, 8 years and counting. There are games that have been in my collection for a year and counting, 3 years, 5 years, 7 years. There's all different numbers. Games pull our minds, our imagination in different ways. They capture us and hook us in different aspects, and some people will dive into the same games again and again and again. They'll have a 50-game collection. They'll play the same things again and again and again, and kudos to you. Others will play a game once. I had one person in my game group one time who only ever wanted to be invited to a game night if it was a new game. He never wanted to play the same game a second time. It doesn't matter how good it was. I don't understand that at all, by the way, but hey, the point is there's different kinds of people. I like playing different games. I like experiencing different games, and I like way too many games. But practically speaking, at the end of the day, only so many games can stay in your collection. Well, it's not true. If you want to collect games, you can do what you want. But if you don't want to collect games, if you want to play games, there's only so many games you can, practically speaking, own. You have to figure out how many games you're playing a year, divide that by the game collection, do some practical reality math around whether you actually own a viable amount of games you can play, or whether your entire game collection is just wishful thinking. I think my game collection is around 25% wishful thinking and around 75% actually playing everything I own. In any case, and until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. A reminder that some of these are available, well, all of these are available on Patreon as far as a giveaway option, but you can check that out. In any case, and until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I hope you have a good one.